pretty good clinician to be part of this program. But if you are, and you can be part of this program, I mean, you're going to accelerate like 20 years of your career by doing this program. Welcome to Livestream. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Plains, with Jeremy Applegate here today. How you doing, Jeremy?
What is going on? I am excited about talking about the topic that we got today. How do we talk a lot about 2022 and we did a lot of projects.
Oh man, 2022 was a year of a lot of learning.
And I think that it'd be interesting for people to understand, how do we come up with these ideas and how do we build the process or the plan, to push it into launch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I think like every entrepreneur, every business owner, you're constantly learning.
Yeah.
Every day, you're getting those curveballs from the moment you walk into the office. Timmy's out. Jenny can't come in today because she has a tummy ache, and you got to be able to roll with these punches. No, the little tummy ache.
Tummy ache.
The tummy ache excuse.
I had to do a second take on that. I'm like, tummy ache. Okay, tummy ache.
So there's a lot of challenges that happen being an owner. So the biggest thing as being a leader is that you got to learn how to solve those problems.
Yeah.
I mean, I've realized that a lot of people that are in management positions, a lot of times they're the ones starting the fire. I mean, they just, instead of solving the problem, they're the ones starting the fire. So my goal for 2023 is going to be to develop leaders for the coming generation that are going to be able to be efficient and lead by example and solve those problems.
Okay.
Because, if you're just very skilled, it doesn't mean you're a great leader.
Correct.
But if you're not investing, it doesn't matter what I do or what you do in your personal time or where you're at the office. If you're not investing in your team and investing in their development and they're not aligned with your development, they might not be in the right place. And that's okay. Some people are just not in the right offices, in the right business. And you got to be able to identify those people, but you got to give them the opportunity to evolve. So this year we're going to have a lot of different challenges for them. I mean, I'm already thinking about, giving them a book. They're going to read a chapter a week, for the top leaders in the organization. And we're going to have a weekly call meeting. I mean, my friend told me this. He's like, I've been doing this in my office. And in a year, I saw people that I thought that couldn't even lead. Some of these people, I was even thinking of firing them. And I just changed their whole mindset. I resetted their whole mindset on the opportunities that they had. If they're not bought in, in your vision, they're not going to do it. But that's okay.
I think that entrepreneurs get caught up in the day-to-day traffic nonsense, that they don't have time to reflect on what's going on with their team, and they don't take the opportunity to utilize the tools out there to improve that. And they don't think that, listen, I got to do this all myself. Well, no, you don't. If you spend a little time, a little hard work in the beginning, getting these guys to where you want them to be, then you don't have to spend so much time cranking out all these answers and resolving all these issues, because you've developed these people and you put them in places where they can do that for you.
Yeah. There's a lot of successful podcasters. I mean, not only is he an amazing leader, but he's also very successful financially and professionally. And he's a mentor of mine, Ed Milet. And Ed says that in his very beginning, all he would do will be, he would take, if there was a task that he felt that the employee couldn't do, he took over it and did it. But then he realized over time that he's enabling that employee from the full development. And if he wanted to be able to step back from the business, he needed that employee to be efficient on their own.
And let's say this, when an employee figures out that you're going to do it for them, how often are they going to say, I can't do it? 97% of the time, until you have to figure out that, they're kind of playing me. They're playing with my mind, and shame on me.
Exactly. That's a trait that you got to be able to, coach them and teach them on it, because sometimes they're just taught certain ways. We don't know their background. We don't know their history. How much, in schools, people spent hundreds and thousands of dollars in university. And I think maybe I took one leadership class. I mean, people, the universities and the school system doesn't get people taught on leadership. And if you're not investing in yourself and on your team after you finish, no matter how successful or skilled you are, you're going to have so many challenges that you're going to face. Like, I mean, in the last 2 years, last 6 months, I have it on crunch. You know, I'm like really focused on it. I mean, I spend 2 to 3 hours a day, either between reading and listening, mostly listening, to be honest with you. But I mean, my mindset is constantly shifting and changing and being like, oh, wow, this is not only a challenge that I go through, many people go through it.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And I want to go back to, you saying the education is not built to help people be successful. Like dentists will spend $500,000 for an education, right, to be a dentist. And that whole time, they're not learning how to be a business owner. They're not learning how to communicate with people. They're not
Communication's huge.
How to be leaders. They're not it's all about anatomy and biology and all that stuff that goes with that. It's just insane to me. You're not setting them up for success. It's a racket, in my opinion. I'm sorry for saying it that way, but it's a racket, okay? And it's frustrating to me because we get these young doctors, that want to work and want to do this and want to do that. And
they're very skilled.
Yeah, and then they sit down and they try to have a conversation with a patient, and they're like,
oh, wow.
I mean, they can't.
Yep, they can't, and they don't even know how to even start that conversation.
And a team member,
I mean, the schools, I guess, these educational companies after grad school, I mean, they're making a killing, right? Because, you finish, you go open your private practice, and you're like, okay, what do I do now? I have this $500,000 loan. I have student loans. I'm getting married, or I'm planning to get a family, and now how do I pay for all this? So I guess I got to spend another $100,000 on a educational course after I spent $500,000 in school to learn the business aspect of it.
Listen, education, deans of dental school, look us up, okay? We'll be happy to come and sit down and talk with your students and explain to them the expectations of what it looks like after you graduate, because it's not all roses and rainbows with these guys, and it's not sitting in a chair and doing a filling, and then the next person coming in doing a filling, the next person coming in doing a crown. It is not that at all.
Yeah, there's so many buckets into running a business. I mean, you got the leadership bucket, which is huge, right? You got the operational bucket, You got the marketing bucket, you got the IT, you got the financials. I mean, and they all correlate. The HR bucket, they all correlate together. And if you have any inefficiencies in any of these, it can be detrimental to your organization. And it's insane that the school system is not teaching the students about, be careful when you graduate. And we're not trying to scare anyone, but you got to be very cautious in your decision making. And that's why these DSOs are so successful, is because people graduate and they're like, the first thing they do is either they become an associate, or they buy a practice, or they go into a DSO model, which facilitates a lot of these needs.
Yeah, when they jump into a DSO, and I think that's where the DSO have recognized where they can impact dentists. They understand that, hey, maybe some of these dentists aren't going to be long-term employees, but we can utilize their clinical skill set while they develop the business aspect of their mind, and learn from us in some capacity, knowing that, we're always going to have that tunnel or that funnel of dentists that we can do that with. I think that's, I know plenty of dentists that have went through, Aspen or Heartland or somebody like that, and the first thing they wanted to do was open up their own location, right?
And go for it, right?
And go for it. And they're like, well, I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I sat with Aspen for a bit.
Yeah, like you can be the most skilled dentist, even an amazing business owner, but if your team doesn't believe in you and your team is not aligned with your goals or your motivation or what drives you, and they have the same purpose as you, or they believe in you, you're in bad shape. Like, you're going to suffer in every angle. And if you're not a good leader and you don't lead by example, guess why would they follow you? You're a terrible leader. A lot of these managers go into manager positions or director positions or even high-end operational positions, but their leadership is terrible.
Yeah.
They don't know how to have tough conversations. They don't know how to handle disgruntled employees. They don't know how to motivate people. They don't know how to keep them driven. And, then what happens is that these employees that are really engaged, they lose their motivation and they lose their engagement in the company.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that we recognized that in 2021, 22. And, we started developing our implants for all, right? And we recognized a need from the patient side. But that kind of generated an opportunity for us to understand that there is a dentist, they need this program too, because it's an entire team training process. It's an entire team training course, and it's impacted dentists, and it gets them to understand, like, there's more to it than just sitting at the chair and doing procedures.
Like this Implants for All program it's phenomenal. I mean, if I would have known about a program like this when I, 1 or 2 years, because you got to be a pretty good clinician to be part of this program. But if you are, and you can be part of this program, I mean, you're going to accelerate like 20 years of your career by doing this program, because you're not only going to learn the clinical side, but you're going to learn how to be, work with your team, how to manage your team, how to market your procedures and your skill set, as well as the financial side of it, and when to add more employees and when not to add, and how to train your treatment coordinator. I mean, I had a friend of mine that I told him, bring up your treatment coordinator up here for one day just to see this operation. And let me know what you think. This guy is doing 10 to 15 arches a month. And he went and he's like, wow, Alex, that your girl is there. It's freaking amazing. Like, I mean, my treatment coordinator learned so much from spending a day with Alexis there.
Yeah. I mean, our team there's a reason why they're great at what they do, because they're the best. And I think that, you got to walk the walk, you got to talk the talk. And I think that we've put our team in a position to be able to do that. And when people come through, they're shocked, and it's just, we have a successful process. We went through all the trials and tribulations of what that looks like, right? Day one does not look anything like it looks right now. You know what I mean? And it's important. And I really think that, this is a unique situation. And you and I talk about this all the time too. 5% of the dentists do this procedure, right?
In the whole world.
In the whole world.
Yeah, in the whole world.
And to be honest with you guys, from an outsider, not a dentist, from a non-dentist perspective, this kind of is where it's all going to end up at some point.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
You need to jump in ASAP, because if you don't jump in now and learn this skill and get your team understanding how they can impact this procedure, it's a mistake. I mean, it is a mistake.
Yeah, this program is very intense. I mean, you're going to learn a lot of stuff. I mean, we've had doctors come through the program, and within 2 clinical days, they're like, wow, like, you guys are so efficient. Your processes are so much smoother than what I'm used to, what I've learned in other courses. So this program is very, very good, in my personal opinion. And we're constantly evolving, and we're improving from our errors.
I love our program more than, and I'm not even trying to be biased about this, but I think that the one thing that differentiates us from everyone else is we're hands-on. We really get in there, we really grind it out with these guys, and there's a connection there, and we hold them accountable.
The accountability is the most important
when
part.
They run out of here.
Because a lot of doctors go to do all these courses all across the world, and they go do and they learn the skill, but then they go back to their practice and they do 1 or 2 cases and they make a mistake, or they don't do it as good as they thought they learned in the course, and then they just stop doing it. I mean, I've had doctors run through my organization that go and do these courses in Mexico or in Dominican Republic. They're great programs, but then they go and they get stuck and they're by themselves, and they're like, what do we do next? The difference with this program is that, you'll have full access to me and our team, and then you'll be able to, come back to the practice and become more efficient and, up your skill level, which is very, very important.
And I want everybody to understand something here. This guy has done over 20,000 implants, right?
Yeah.
You've done over 800 full arches. I mean, where else are you going to get that kind of experience to help you through those challenges?
And, you say those numbers, and to me, I'm still the same OG that I was when I started.
That's right.
I mean, you got to stay humble while you're doing it. But one thing I want to tell you is, we were talking about teams, and it hit me because yesterday an employee of ours that is very dear to us came, And she said, I really love where you're going with this. This is so amazing, but I want to be more part of it. So a lot of the times we think that employees don't want to be a part of something. But, if you don't have these conversations and these one-on-one with your employees and you build that connection with them, you might have your next COO or your next director of operations right in front of you, and you don't even know it because you don't have those conversations, because you live in such a high-paced environment that you don't realize that there's people that want to be a part of it, but they might not believe in themselves, or they think that you don't believe in them. So that's why it's so important to have those conversations with your employees, and at least in a monthly aspect.
I mean, I want to do the old drop the mic on that, but I will hold that until the end.
Yeah, so now in February, Jeremy is helping us plan this amazing event. We have an amazing speaker. He's a mindset coach for Molly Meatball from the UFC. I mean, I'm so excited. I have my dear friend Tom Smith. He's flying in from England. This guy is an American. I mean, I call him an American badass or a European badass, but this guy has been, he's been helping me for at least 7 months already, and his mindset is just in another level. He's the owner of Dream Mentoring. I mean, you've spoken to him. I think you have a call with him now.
Yep, I got a call
right after here, and the intensity of this guy. So, is it another level, right?
Oh, 100%. I think that, everybody should check him out too, because he's an interesting guy and he understands motivation and influence and inspiration and what it takes to be a leader.
But this guy don't just motivate, he does, because you can motivate all day. Well,
we talked earlier about, practice, what you preach or be an example.
Lead by example.
So, I mean, he
does it. He does it. And I asked Tom the other day, Tom, how long did it take you to build your self-worth and your mindset this way? And he's like, Alex, it didn't happen overnight. I've been working on this for at least 10 years. This is not, and it takes a lot of courage and guts, and to be a real man, to be straight in your face and tell you like that. Because a lot of these guys that are in social media, they're like, oh, that's just a natural trait that I have, or I read a book and I just changed that is complete BS. You don't learn this process overnight. It takes so much discipline to be up at 4:30 in the morning, working out, to then write down, to do your manifestation journal. I mean, this guy is at another level of discipline. And, if half the world can be like this guy, I mean, we will be in the best planet in the universe.
Well, we're going to wrap it up here, but I think that it's important because you see two guys here that, we have experience, and we've been through the mud, and we've bled and all that stuff that creates who we are today, but we're still evolving as individuals. And we're not afraid to take on somebody like Tom Smith into our lives, and for some self-improvement on our side too. You always need to, and you say this all the time, you always need to work on yourself.
You always need to work on yourself. So now my goal is not only to work on myself, but make my leaders or my team believe in themselves, because a lot of them don't even believe in themselves and their full potential. So yesterday I had a tough conversation with some of my, upper management, and I told them, guys, we got to give this team the opportunity to evolve and develop, because if we don't, we're gonna fail on them. So this year if I can involve another 4 or 5 leaders this year out of the 83 or 90 employees by the end of the year we might have, or maybe more. I mean, I feel like I had a huge win for the year.
I agree with that. I mean, I would agree with that.
All right. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the show.